This episode is brought to you by Heyday. Feeling stressed? Take a moment for yourself with Heyday. Stroll through rows of golden wheat, tend to cute barnyard animals, and discover the joys of a digital farm retreat. You don't have to hop in a car or catch a plane. Escape to the farm at the tap of a finger. With Heyday, you're not just tending to a farm, you're tending to yourself. Heyday. Search Heyday, that's Hay space DAY, in your favorite app store. Heyday is a free-to-play mobile game and offers optional in-app purchases and random rewards.
Hilton brings you new ways to stay, with experiences that let you capture the glory days. Introducing the Graduate Hotels. Each inspired by local college towns, these stays are always original and never boring. Get in touch with traditions all across the country and enjoy a stay that's a class above the rest. Book at Graduate Hotels with Hilton Honors Points at Hilton.com. It's a win-win. Hilton, for the stay.
In 2005, two brothers hit the road to fight monsters. That road has led them to fighting demons, angels, and saving the world.
It's a journey that is taking them to heaven, hell, and back. But they aren't done.
Join our journey as we go episode by episode, following the adventures of Sam and Dean Winchester. We break each episode down with the writers, producers, directors, crew, and actors to bring you the behind-the-scenes stories of how this legendary TV series was made. That guy right there, that's Rob Benedict. He played God and Chuck Shirley.
Hey, and that guy there, that's Richard Spade Jr. He played Gabriel, Loki, and the Trickster. And P.S., he directed a bunch of episodes, too.
Now, while we are insiders, we're also outsiders, because we're not experts. This is our first time watching the entire series, all 327 episodes.
Rich and I have met many of the fans at conventions around the world, and we are deepening our understanding of why you all love this series so much. Because it's really good.
Yeah, it is. Now listen, there will be spoilers, so consider yourself warned.
And thank you for joining us on this trip we call Supernatural Then and Now.
Hi everybody, I'm Rob Benedict.
Hi everybody, I'm Rob Benedict.
Oh my God, this is the episode called Too Many Benedicts.
It's actually, I'm Rob Benedict, you're Richard Spate, and the episode is called How to Win Friends and Influence Monsters.
Honestly, something we could all use, a little shining up of our skill sets, you know what I mean?
That's true. It is true. And it's season 7, episode 9. We're making our way through season 7. I can't even believe it.
I feel like just yesterday we were on episode 8.
No, but I does feel like yesterday we were in the middle of 6.
And now we're in the middle of 7. 7's all grown up.
And let me take this opportunity to thank everyone for listening to our podcast and to be sure to remember to check out our sponsors.
Yes, if the good people who are supporting our show by sponsoring it, by golly, you need to go check them out.
Yeah, if you hear an ad from us, just know that they're directly supporting the podcast, and it's how we can keep this thing going. Please check out what they have to offer.
Even if you don't have erectile dysfunction like Rob, you can still listen to the ad. Share the ad with somebody who might have that problem.
That's right.
By the way, Rob, you want to tell the people about the cake you got today?
Nope, I don't. And other things that'll be cut from the episode.
Rob, you're on fire.
All right, let's do this. You ready?
Yes.
The episode opens with a first-person shot of a monster racing through the forest.
By the way, already I'm going to tell you, I like the way they did that because they had like this jitter effect or something going on. It was not your usual POV through the woods.
No, and it was this episode was really well directed by Guy B. Guy B. Yeah, it was really just he did a lot during the episode to sort of keep it interesting.
I thought the same thing. I'm like, man, Guy B always has something cool.
Yeah.
Everyone watch an episode, they're like, Guy B's doing something interesting with the camera.
Yeah, and even the staging of the actors, the way that he sets them up, like in the car, and they come back to the car. And now they've switched positions because Jim Beaver's in the back of the car working on something. Like it kept it interesting.
Yeah,
I really felt like I was watching like a cop movie. You know what I mean? When they're on stakeout.
Yeah.
So they're doing the first person monster thing, and it comes upon a couple glamping in Hamilton, New Jersey. Whatever the monster is, hangs the husband upside down in his sleeping bag.
But hold on, let's not leap forward in the story that fast.
Okay, let's not read the lines as written. Okay.
I know, no, I'm just leaving in here. You know what? Did you catch the Sleepy Time voice?
Bob Singer.
Bob Singer, for sure, doing like nature
Yeah.
sounds.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was great.
And he really does have a good radio voice.
Also, the reveal of the guy hanging upside down, great shot by Guy B.
Yes.
It's just this like pan up the body like he's in a sleeping bag, land on the face, 180 degrees.
Yeah.
To reveal that the guy's upside down. It was really clever. Really well done.
Very clever. Really well done. And even when they go to bed and then they wake up, and I thought maybe she was going to be all messed up. But
me too. I thought they were going to pan over and reveal a mangled wife or something.
Yeah. By the way, for glamping, that was even by glamping standards, that was very glam.
I could go out on a limb and say that was just a cabin with flimsy sides.
Well, it was literally a wood bed frame. Like, how do you pack that up?
I don't know. Well, we could ask the guy, but he got eaten.
That's true. So anyway, he's hung upside down like a burrito and eaten. Meanwhile, Bobby, Sam, and Dean settle into an abandoned house to investigate.
Are burritos notoriously upside down?
Yeah. Wait, you eat your burrito
right side up? Like an idiot.
That's weird. Dean complains about their recent living conditions, but Bobby reminds him that they must lie low while the Leviathans are hunting for them. Sam suspects they might be dealing with the Jersey Devil.
The Jersey Devil sounds like a secret order at Jersey Mike's.
Or just someone like your mom would call you if you were being naughty. You Jersey Devil.
Or a team name. Like, if you're fighting the Jersey Devils.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so they meet Ranger Rick at a local Biggersons. What's Ranger Rick from?
I think it's a cartoon that's a raccoon.
Ah, right. Okay. They meet Ranger Rick at a local Biggersons for lunch to discuss disappearances. Is Biggersons an actual Jersey thing, or is that made up?
I believe it's made up.
Rick eats a turducken sandwich and explains that he doesn't believe the state police report.
And what is a turducken? A turducken is
turkey.
Traditionally, it's a turkey stuffed in a duck, or a duck.
No, it's a chicken stuffed in a duck, stuffed in a turkey.
Right. There's three birds. Okay.
3 of them.
Have you ever had a turducken? Because it's a real thing.
Yes, I have several times. It's
really
an annual tradition at my ex-wife Molly's brother's house. So we would have every, I think Christmas Eve, we'd have turducken. And it is kind of gross.
Walk me through it, because it feels. So is it just a solid wall of meat you're cutting through? Is it all deboned?
It looks like what it is. I mean, it's a chicken inside a duck inside a turkey.
But their bones have been removed.
Not the turkeys. The turkey looks like a turkey, a big old turkey.
And then everything else is in there. Wow.
It's a trip, and not very great in my opinion, but funny, but good for a laugh.
Good for a laugh, unless you're
the duck, the turkey, or the chicken. Yeah. Anyway, he doesn't buy it, and he thinks he doesn't buy the report that a bear ate the campers. He and his assistant Phil have been finding dismembered animal parts in the forest for a while, and Phil hasn't checked in for some time. But Rick, oddly, doesn't seem concerned.
Yeah, he's real blasé about the whole thing.
Yeah, very stony.
California sober, if you will.
Bobby shows up after being at the morgue and tells the boys that the victims didn't show signs of a Leviathan, werewolf, or Wendigo attack.
Wendigo.
That's right. That was a test and you passed. Sam tells Bobby about their conversation with Ranger Rick. Dean eats a turducken slammer. Before they leave Biggersons, their grumpy waiter shouts at the manager and quits.
He was real grumpy, by the way, and I wouldn't have wanted him as my server.
No, I wouldn't either. It doesn't say positive things about the service in New Jersey.
You know that guy's putting some secret sauce in your sandwich.
Oh, yeah. I'd think twice before going to a Biggersons.
You should stick with your favorite, Smallersons.
There you go. Bobby, Sam, and Dean head to the woods to investigate further. Bobby's tracking skills come in handy, and they find the mangled body of Phil. How about Bobby shooting with his eyes shut, shooting in the dark?
Yeah, man, he knows how to shoot.
Ranger Rick comes to the scene and doesn't seem concerned about the situation. Suddenly, something snatches Ranger Rick. Bobby zeroes in on the sounds of Rick being eaten, aims, and shoots. A strangely diseased man falls from the trees. He's emaciated, has blue skin, and grayed-out eyes. Believing the creature is dead, they return with it to their house. The infected man springs to life, and they fire several bullets to take him down. Sam and Bobby perform an impromptu autopsy and find several strange things in his stomach, like a cat head and a pine cone. That was really gross. That was a gross part.
Yeah, it was.
There is also peculiar blue goo throughout his body. They check his ID, even sticking his hand in his pocket to check his ID. I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
And it says the man is supposed to weigh 235 pounds.
But the guy's real scrawny.
He's emaciated.
He's emancipated. He's been freed from all that weight.
That's right. Dean doesn't seem interested and insists they return to Biggerson's for dinner. Once there, Dean orders another turducken slammer. Bobby and Sam do more research, but slowly realize that everyone in the restaurant seems overly obsessed with their turducken slammers. Sam grabs the sandwich out of Dean's hands. Back at the house, Bobby and Sam want to figure out what's going on with the sandwich.
Funny stuff, by the way, Dean eating. Just for the record, I enjoyed those sequences. We're like, oh man, this is so good. Like,
yeah, always funny to see him eating, and I thought it was really a funny turn to see him stoned.
Yeah,
it was a funny concept too. I mean, again, the episode it's really funny, and of course, written by Ben Edlund.
Yeah, it's really fun. Some fun stuff in here.
Dean is apathetic and just wants to eat the sandwich. As they argue, suddenly the sandwich spits out some goo. It's the same goo that was in the infected man in the woods.
Isn't that gross? It's like your biggest nightmare when you're eating a sandwich, is that it's going to spit out goo.
So gross. Sam and Bobby head out to see what they can find out about the Biggersons, while Dean sleeps off whatever's going on with him. So they're kind of at a stakeout, right? And
right.
Yeah. So they track a delivery truck back to the factory. Dean wakes up. They see Leviathan Edgar with the grumpy waiter who gets locked in a cage.
Yeah, because the grumpy waiter tries to take out an innocent bystander, some lady.
Yeah, that happened just earlier, and then someone comes and kind of like slaps the grumpy waiter. And
I think it's Edgar, right? I think it's
and then it reveals it's Edgar. So then the waiter gets locked in a cage. The next morning, Dick Roman arrives. Bobby listens in on a conversation between Dick, Edgar, and Dr. Gaines.
That whole video they watch online is funny too. It's like, Forrest Gumpian. He's like with Bill Clinton. He's with Joe
So Dick
Biden.
Roman, I guess, was sort of a kind of a politician, or just like a.
No, I think he's just a captain of industry who's like celebrated by politicians for being so successful.
And the Leviathan somehow got him.
Right.
Got that well-known character. So Bobby listens in on the conversation. It's fun to see Edgar and Dr. Gaines back. That was a nice little recurring stint.
Yeah.
The goo food additive was a Leviathan plan they were testing out to try and make the population lazy and apathetic.
I feel like you don't have to try that in America very hard.
I know, exactly.
I feel like you could do that without the goo.
Unfortunately, a few people have the side effect of becoming aggressive cannibals. Dick isn't happy about the attention the side effect brings and makes Dr. Gaines bib himself, which we find out is actually eating himself.
Yeah, he has to eat himself. And what's a trip is that the waiter had the bad side effect.
Right, he must have been eating it.
Yeah, he had the bad goo or whatever. And then the guy has to eat himself. Look, I know we're not watching a documentary. This is fiction. It's not supposed to be true, and they're going to take liberties.
Right.
But the man leaves like a few drips of black on his bib, and otherwise he's gone.
What's really efficient about bibbing oneself, if you're a Leviathan, is it all just stays on the bib.
It stays in the bib, including how did you eat your own face? Like I don't get it.
And the whole time keeping it on the bib, because he was like, get rid of that. And she just picks up this little bib with a little.
And there's nothing. It's not splattered across the office. Like nothing.
No, it's just on that bib. The Leviathan capture Bobby, and he gets a look at some documents on Dick's desk. Sam and Dean use borate to get the upper hand on Leviathans.
Borate has borax in it. Or borax has borate in it. It's the cleaning stuff, right?
It's the cleaning stuff. Yeah. So they use it on Leviathans and rescue Bobby. However, in the melee, Bobby gets shot as they escape. I knew it. That last shot.
I knew.
As Bobby and Sam and Dean escape in the van, Sam realizes that Bobby's been shot in the head. Either that or
I almost cried out to the heavens, "Oh, Jim, why did you ask for a pay bump?"
I know.
They will kill you.
Didn't you learn anything by looking at what happened to Misha? So yeah, once again, Bobby's going to be in the hospital. I feel like that happens all the time.
That's right. He can walk. You know what I thought? I thought that what's his face, James Patrick Stewart is great.
Yeah,
in the role.
Yeah,
he brings such a clean cut, suave jerkiness to it. It's great.
Yeah, we were talking about it before the podcast. It's very American Psycho.
Yeah, and funny. It brings a lot. He's threatening, he's ominous, but he's also really, really funny.
Yeah,
in that role.
And as Christian Bale was in that role, it's very. Yeah. And he's got a Christian Bale thing about him. I always thought that about him anyway, especially when he was younger. He's great. He's absolutely great.
He's doing a great job in this role.
Yeah, it's fun to watch. Yeah, are you ready to get into our ratings?
Okay, let me do my thing then. This is why, I'm here. If I don't do this, Steve won't pay me. Rob and Rich. Ratings. I really enjoyed this episode. I thought it was, I thought the Jensen playing high was funny. I mean, the description of the monster was funny. The camping opening was, gross but funny. In all the ways. Obviously it was a more humorous episode, not full on tongue in cheek, but it's more humorous, more Ben Edlundian. And yeah, man, I'm digging it. So, I mean, it's a tough one a little bit. I mean, I before I say my thing, do you know what you're going to do?
Well, I could give my my review as well, which is I really enjoyed it as well. I honestly, it's written by Ben Edlund, directed by Guy B. Really, the episode is in such good hands. And there is a scene in the car between Dean and Bobby where Jim sort of has a monologue. He was talking about being a hunter, and he says, "You're not human anymore. You're not human. You tried to be human. You tried to get married and have the normal life. That didn't work.
Right.
This is what you do. Is that normal? What you did? No, that's not normal. You chose to be in this position. It's a really strong monologue for Bobby.
Right.
Jim nailed it. And it's just a really strong scene. And there are moments of it where I was like, this is cinematic, the acting. And that's the tribute to Guy B really too. Like he sets it up and his tight shots are pretty tight. And you're really up in there with the characters. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was really well directed.
I think James Patrick Stewart is great. It's one of the sort of most quality episodes of this season so far.
Yeah, because we're getting a little more James Patrick Stewart, and I think he's really good in this character. Like he's very engaging. So from a beard standpoint, I'm going to go with a big, bushy 1970s. At the peak of his stadium playing fame, Bob Seger. I'm going to go with the Bob Seger for this one. Also, Bob Seger's 80th birthday recently.
Okay.
So a little tip of the cap to Bob Seger. So I'm giving this to Bob Seger.
I'm going to do Kenny Loggins. I'm going to do 70s Kenny Loggins.
Oh, wow. So this gets the full perfect.
If in my range of Kenny Loggins, there's the like Top Gun Kenny Loggins would be my peak Kenny Loggins.
Okay.
But a sort of like just under that would be the sort of Loggins and Messina, that version of Loggins.
Right.
The Will They Won't They album cover with those two. Never
really read it that way, but who else didn't read it that way? Messina.
Yeah, so that's what I'm going to go with. That's how quality I thought this episode was.
That's awesome. That's a solid episode. And, this season deserves a good, solid episode. You know what I mean?
It does. It does. And it deserves you and me in a good mood.
Are we usually not?
Nah, we're crabby. Messina's got his shirt off.
He's got his shirt open. It's not off.
Well, it's open, but, there's very will they, won't they.
Will they or won't they button their shirt?
You and I have never taken a picture where like one of us just have his shirt undone and we're going, hey. What?
I will say that's true, but also we did not get any photos of ourselves taken together loaded in the 70s.
Well, maybe that's what it is.
We were 10 years older. We might have those photos floating around.
Yeah. All right. Well,
so that's a solid review. That's great.
All right, guys, back to the podcast. We are ready for our interview.
It's so exciting, man. We're finally, we get a lot of crap from our listeners. I'm going to say it, crap.
Yeah.
Because we don't have anybody from editorial on, no editors. Well,
right.
You can put that crap back in its sack and put it back in the closet where you keep your crap sack, because we, starting today, finally are getting an editor on this podcast. And by the way, I want to say he's asked several editors in the past, and they're not always front-facing folks. They're not necessarily the people who want to come be interviewed, so they have graciously declined. But we got Don Koch to say yes. Oh, yes, we did.
That's right. Don Koch is our guest today. Don served in the editorial department of Supernatural from season 4 through season 15. He started as an assistant editor and was bumped to full-time editor in season 7.
That's this very season, Robert.
That's where we're at. He edited 69 episodes of Supernatural and 4 episodes of The Winchesters. He is also an editor on Sabrina the Teenage Witch. And here's our conversation with Don Koch. Don Koch, you're the first editor from Supernatural to join us, so thank you for being so brave and coming on the podcast.
Oh yeah, well, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be the first.
Well, it's a trip, and Don, I think I texted you this, or maybe I didn't, but I won't name names, but a while ago when the show started, some of the editors we reached out to, and your profession has a lot of folks who don't necessarily want to be on camera.
Oh yeah. It's a weird bunch, the editors. A lot of like sitting in your room by yourself doing your thing. That's
we used to get it. We've had a couple of fans who are big fans of the podcast say, kind of chastise us for not having editors on. I'm like, we're trying. I swear.
Well, I guess I'm the one that's dumb enough to jump in, huh?
Well, you'll see. It's fairly painless. Very
painless. So let's start at the beginning. How did you get your start on Supernatural?
Start on Supernatural. It was a weird kind of coincidence, or maybe not coincidence, depending on how you view things. But I was an assistant at the time looking for work, and I applied for another job, didn't get it, but they said, hey, call Todd Aronauer over at Supernatural. They're looking for an assistant. So I'm like, okay.
Do you remember where you were applying before?
Yeah, it was the show. It was Pushing Daisies.
Oh yeah.
It was an editor I used to work with, Stu Bass, was over there, but they needed like a visual effects night assistant or something like that.
Oh wow.
So I applied there, but they're like, nah. But they said, go over to Supernatural, get a hold of Todd Aronauer. I'm like, man, that name sounds really familiar. Then I realized that when I was working on Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Todd was a PA on Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Oh my gosh.
And my dad actually was the line producer on Sabrina, and he gave Todd his first job in the business.
Wow. My God, that's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. So then, and my dad's a big Ohio State fan. Todd went to Ohio State. So basically their entire interview was just talking Ohio State football. Huh. So, and then, so basically came in for the interview. And then the editor that I was going to assist, Tom McQuaid, I actually worked with him on a pilot. It was like a remake of the Partridge Family. So as soon as I walked in, I already worked with Tom. I already knew Todd, that type of thing. So just kind of talked with them. Phil rolled in like in the middle of the interview,
Classic Phil.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, I didn't know Phil, so I knew the other two guys, right? So, and Phil didn't say anything like what his position was, whatever. He just rolled in. So I'm not, okay, this is the big guy, right?
Yeah.
I had no idea. So that's how I ended up basically on. So I was an assistant.
Well, did you get the call, like, as you headed to your car, did you get a call like you're hired?
No, I think it was later in the day. I think I was home by then, something like that. And they're like, yeah, we're starting in July. Let's go. So, so that's how I got on. I was looking at my IMDb because I can't remember how many episodes I've been involved with in Supernatural, but I was
69.
Cut 69. I was an assistant on 21 and 69 episodes.
Wow.
So so it ended up being a bit.
A bit, yeah. Yeah, you started and then you went all the way through to the end, right?
I did. That's correct. Yep. Finished it up.
So Bruce, it was your assistant when I started working with you. And I know Bruce has been on from the pilot. Where was Bruce before he came over to your bay?
He was assisting Anthony.
Pinker.
Anthony Pinker. Yeah. So he was assisting Anthony. Anthony ended up leaving. So then it was like, and Jimmy was my assistant my first year.
Jimmy Pickle?
Yep. Yeah. Jimmy was my first assistant. Then he got bumped up. Then Bruce came over to me, and then Bruce finished it out to the end. So
how many main editors does Supernatural have at a given time?
So basically it's three teams. So there's 3 groups, so 3 editors, 3 assistants, which is nice. Because some shows, depending on the shows, that type of stuff, you'll have 3 editors, 2 assistants, where the assistants kind of float around and help. But with the nice thing with Supernatural having 3 and 3, where you have your dedicated assistant, which, because we were doing multiple episodes, which helps with tracking visual effects, cutting recaps, trailers, that type of stuff, the assistant stuff, and also organizing the projects for the editors, that type of stuff. So it really helps where the assistants aren't really getting confused. You're kind of a team.
Yeah.
So that really helps out. So that was, that's the best setup an editor and assistant can have is 3 and 3.
I hope you're digging the episode, but we need to pull over for a quick second for some messages. Hey yo, Rich Spade here. Summer is just around the corner, and the fine folks at Mint Mobile have a hot take. Getting a summer bod is out, and getting your savings bod is in. This spring and summer, we want skimpy wireless bills and fat wallets. And with premium wireless plans for just $15 a month, you can have both without breaking a sweat or the bank. Let me tell you something. Mint Mobile Wireless is top shelf. Connections are great. Calls are clear. Internet connections are zippy as heck. The whole family loves it. And man, are you saving some serious money because you're not handing over heaps of cash every month. Only pay for what you need. Only pay for what you use. Say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text, or high-speed data if you're one of those people, and unlimited talk and text, delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your own phone number along with all your existing contacts. How easy is that? Ditch overpriced wireless and get 3 months of premium wireless service from Mint Mobile for $15 a month. You heard that right. It's $15 a month for the first 3 months. Good grief, that's low. So I'm telling you, this is the year. You skip breaking a sweat and breaking the bank. Get your summer savings and shop premium wireless plans at mintmobile.com/supernatural. That's mintmobile.com/supernatural. Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, 5 gigabyte plan required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details.
Hey everybody, it's Rob. You know when a new piece of clothing just becomes your go-to? Like maybe a new shirt? That's what happened for me when I picked up a few items from Quince. It's the first thing I reach for in my closet because they're lightweight, they're comfortable, and they're always on point. And I like to be on point. I don't like to be off the point. Quince has all the things you actually want to wear, like organic cotton silk polos or European linen beach shorts or comfortable pants that work with everything from backyard hangs to nice dinners. Oh, I loves me a good backyard hang. The best part? Everything with Quince is priced like 50 to 80% of what it normally would be with similar brands. The price is ridiculous and it's really well made. They work directly with top artisans and they cut out the middleman. So it gives you like luxury pieces without the crazy markups. And Quince only works with factories that are safe, ethical, and responsible. And they use premium fabrics and finishes. I'm telling you, it's a great product and it's a great price. And I just got myself a nice short sleeve white linen shirt from Quince that I wore last week at the convention in Minneapolis. For anyone playing along at home, if you saw me, then you know that I looked stylish without trying too hard. There was something just cool about it. I felt cool wearing it. So elevate your closet with Quince. Go to quince.com/STN for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/STN to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/STN.
Thanks for supporting Supernatural then and now. And speaking of now, let's go back to the show. And then how did you get started in editing in the first place?
Well, let's see how far back we want to go. So
let's go. Let's do it.
Right.
Deep dive. You're our first editor.
Oh boy. Yeah, this is like a therapy session or something. It's gonna
There's a box of tissues and you can cry if you need to.
So basically, I'm a third generation entertainment industry type of thing. So my grandma was a dancer in Hollywood. She was like Jeanette McDonald's dance double.
Amazing.
That type of thing. My grandfather started out dancing. Rumor has it, family lore, that he taught Clark Gable how to tap dance.
Amazing.
His wedding ring for my grandma, him and William Holden split a diamond, so that type of thing. So yeah, so way back in the day type of stuff. So they met on a set dancing, didn't dance together, but that's how they met each other. So fast forward, they used to vacation in Hawaii. My dad was he was in the Army, stationed in Hawaii, met my mom, came over here. He was from Ohio, decided to live in California.
Where was your mom from originally?
LA. So she's born in LA. Let's see. So they met, moved here to Encino. My dad didn't have a job, so my grandpa got him a job. He was an assistant editor. My grandpa at that time ended up producing, so he was producing Green Acres, Beverly Hillbillies, Petticoat Junction.
What
type of stuff?
Those were some of my favorites watching those reruns as a kid.
Yeah, I had his name was George King. When I was a kid, my dad brought home a bunch of little ducklings from the set of Green Acres. We had them in our garage.
Wow.
We raised them up. When they got too big, then we let them go in the lake. That type of stuff.
That's
so
awesome.
Cool,
and what neighborhood were you growing up in?
I grew up in Westlake. So what happened was my grandfather bought a house out there. He died when he was 56. So we moved in there. That was his retirement home. So that's how I kind of ended up there. So my dad kind of, same thing, started out, and then he worked his way up as an editor, worked on a ton of stuff, and then ended up producing. He, Emmy nominated editor, ended up switching over to producing, worked on, you guys will like it, TJ Hooker.
Oh, yeah.
He ended up, that's where he kind of transitioned from editing over into production. Director too, worked on Sabrina, the Teenage Witch, worked on tons of stuff. Beauty and the Beast, the TV show, was producer on that.
Right.
Ron Perlman and Linda Hamilton.
You got it.
Was the cast.
Yep. You got it. Yeah, I did a lot of summer jobs constructing or soundproofing their stages. So that was, summer jobs doing that.
So fast forward, you're working Supernatural, and you started as an assistant, right?
Right.
And then you work your way up, and then by middle of season 7, you're the main editor of your team.
Yeah. So basically what happened was my first episode was, I think it was 620. It was Ben Edlund's directing episode.
Oh, okay.
So it was great because, Ben was super fun in the editing room and
yeah, I bet.
Well, we all know Ben, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it was not your typical director's cut,
Yeah.
But for my first one, it was kind of thrown into the deep end type of thing, right?
Yeah.
And it was also one of those things where, it's kind of it felt like an audition to end up continue cutting, right? Bob and Phil, kind of one of those, hey, this is, it wasn't said, but it was like, I'm cheating. This is an audition. I got to, really nail the edit and that type of stuff. So,
right. Sure.
So yeah, it was super fun with Ben. And then we finished that. And then how Bob was one of those things. He gave me on a way out, good job. So I knew it was good as long as
really
long as
good.
Bob said, good job. Yeah. It was okay.
That's high praise.
Yes. So then I'm like, whew. Yeah. So maybe I'll be back next season, right? So it was after that. It was pretty much there we go, and it was one of those years too. It was funny with Supernatural because every year, especially in post, we were kind of like, I think we can get one more year out of this. I think we'll get picked up.
Yeah,
and it was like every year, right? And it was like it kept going, it kept going, it kept going. I think we'll get one more year.
Yeah.
And you're like, then you're, I started on season 4, ended up in 15. So yeah. So once I got past that first episode, then it was, then I felt a little more confident.
That's hilarious.
So it's okay. So you're editing Supernatural. What's the process in terms of getting an episode? Can you request an episode, or is it just luck of the draw? Every third episode is yours.
No, your luck of the draw. It was up to Phil. Phil made the schedule, and he was really good about, because you got the premiere, you got the finale, so everybody wants to either cut one of those. So Phil would rotate it, season to season, this type of thing, and there's kind of a seniority thing and that type of stuff. So Phil was real good about, I guess, keeping everybody happy with, okay, you get the premiere, but you're going to get the finale, and there's there's an episode, and then we've got the mid-season finale and mid-season premiere, before the break at holidays and stuff like that. So,
what about working with specific directors? Was that just luck of the draw?
Yep, luck of the draw. That's luckily I got rich.
I mean, you were so lucky. Oh my gosh!
But Rich, did you work with a lot of different editors on the show, Richard?
Yeah, because by like what Don's saying, same applies to directors. You don't choose your spot; you're just thrown into a graph, based on availability, and then you find out, oh, I'm working with Don. I mean, I worked with Don a couple times, and then also on Winchester's. Yeah, I think I worked with everybody more than once except for Nicole. I only did one episode with Nicole, and then she moved on. But yeah, it's luck of the draw. I mean, literally, it's this hodgepodge of, you don't know who the writer is going to be. You don't know who your editor is going to be. They know where they are on the graph. You know where you are on the graph. And then you're like, oh, hey, look, it all syncs up. We're all working together. It's cool.
Right. Yeah. Like you said on the Winchesters, luckily, well, not luckily, but someone dropped out, remember? And then you ended up in my spot on the Winchester. So I was happy because it was got shuffled.
Oh, right. They moved my episode. You're right. Yeah.
It got shuffled. Something happened. So I was happy. Like, I saw you on the schedule and I'm like, oh man, I'd rather, so, because I think I did at least 2 or 3 of your Supernatural.
Well, yeah, and you did. Did you do? No, I think Jimmy did the one where I directed. Did you do the one where I directed myself on? That may have been Jimmy, but we did several towards the end. Like in season 15, we did a couple, like very back to back.
Yeah. No, it was So you're kind of just thrown in there. So yeah, that's what the editors do when you get there. You get the list. Like, okay, who's my directors? Who's it? Because we did have a rotating, basically roster of directors. So So that was cool. So who you got, and like, oh, good, that's an easy one, or oh, I've never worked with this guy, or that type of stuff.
Right. How is that challenge? Let's talk about that, because you get thrown a lot of new people. I'm sure you get your Bobs and your Phils and your Showalters and Guy B, Spate, people who did several, but then you get some that you don't know. And by the way, you didn't know Guy B until you worked with him. I mean, you had to meet these people to start with. How is that process?
The whole, as in construct,
new guy, you got this, like, you're delivering, it's like first day of school all over again. You've got, what you're doing, and you hope they know what they're doing, but you also have to deliver. You're answering to 2 bosses, kind of. Not director's not your boss, but you have this new person going, do this, and then you have other people that really well and what they are looking for, and you have to service that. So how's that balance?
It's a weird balance, because for me, I always thought, I was thinking in my head, I mean, basically, because you have a set pattern. What Supernatural looks like, right? It's, unless you get thrown one of those really curveball episodes where it's way out of left field. You're like, whoa, what is, like Changing Channels was. I assisted on that one, but stuff like that where you're like, so generally, what Supernatural's supposed to look like. You know what I mean? And Jared and Jensen are so good, with their performances. It's like, it's easy to put it together that way. A director that you don't know, it's weird when you see when you see the dailies, you kind of get an idea what the director wants. You can see in the shots, and depending, you do have to cover, and Rich knows, like, you do have to make sure you cover everything. So there's choices for the producers, if they want to change stuff. But in general, most directors, you can tell where they're coming from and what they, okay, this is the scene. This is the end of the scene. This is the out of the scene. This is the coverage. This is, okay, ooh, there's a camera move here. He built that in on purpose, that type of stuff. So usually like this episode, like Guy B, he's like really economical in his shooting, so you really I could really tell what guy wanted to do. But then you get other directors, like if you do get a guest director that comes in and maybe this is his first time and they want to kind of impress maybe, or make sure they've got plenty of stuff, then they really hose it down. You're like, I don't know where we want to go with this.
Right.
Like like you say with Bob, I mean, Bob, you knew you're into the scene, you knew you're out to the scene, and you knew the middle, and it was like, perfect. And it was, but some of them overcover. I remember there's one episode I cut, and I can't remember, we had a guest director, and as an editor, for me, I try to get in every shot the director shoots in the scene. I don't care where it is; it's going in there somewhere, because if they set the camera up to shoot it and took the time to shoot that shot, it needs to go in. So there was one time where we had a director, and there was one scene. It was just Sam and Dean walking, and it was like way overcovered. Which was weird, because it was like on the set, you want to, I know that directors have to be cognizant of their time, where it's like,
right.
Let's just get what we need. This is not an important shot. Let's go to this scene that really needs to be covered, but it was just Sam and Dean walking up to a grave or a crypt, and it was overcovered, and but I got every shot in there. I mean, I got every shot. And the first note Phil gave me is like, well, you seems like you got every shot in there. It was just bouncing around like everywhere. Yeah. So it just depends on the directors. It's, what I mean? There's a few directors where they gave me stuff, but they came at it from a different angle, where like, artistically, where it really made me think, like Thomas Wright, like really his stuff, Tom Wright's stuff. It's just a little different, but it's awesome different. Wow. It really makes you think of how to lay the scenes out and the whole show. So it's one of those things where you just, whatever you think the show is supposed to look like, you cut it that way. And then I also have the little voice of Phil in the back of my head,
Yeah.
Stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. That's, you just deal with what you're and do it.
Let's get into this episode that we're talking about. You talk about working with Guy B, and Rich and I were really noting how much at the beginning of this episode, for example, there's a great monster POV shot. The monster's moving through the forest. Is there a difference between cutting the POV versus actor coverage? We could start there.
I mean, basically for that, it's just one of those things where, for me, I think I always say is like editing is, half of it is feel just like what you feel it should be, and half of it I think is kind of like technical, being in different sizes at certain times for different lines, or different angles for certain things. But to me, it just kind of bases into feeling, right? I mean, we all watch movies, all watch TV, we all kind of know how it's supposed to be done, type of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, for me, it's just when you're cutting that stuff, it's just a feeling like, okay, I got to be here. Okay, now we go back to the montage. And some of it's in the script too. There's some description from the writer. I think Ben wrote this episode, right? I think.
Yeah.
So you're in good hands with Ben anyways, when you get a Ben episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's where you want to be. And then also too, the dailies, right? It just depends. I only got so much out of this angle, or I only got so much out of that angle.
Can you I like to be sure that technically we're keeping our audience up to speed. Can you explain what a daily is?
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, dailies is basically whatever they shot on the set the day before. So, they have their schedule on the set, and then the next day I get that film, or, but it's in the Avid, so it's all computerized, all that kind of stuff. So every take. So basically, I get everything that's shot, the circled takes, which is whatever the director, thought was good. We don't need to see the starts and stops and stuff like that. But yeah, and then the assistant bins it all together in scenes, and then I look at the script notes. There's a script supervisor on stage that day that's making notes for what the director, likes, dislikes, that type of stuff, the angles, and then you just kind of dive in, to the scene. So
it's funny, back in the day, I remember we would, they wouldn't even print every take. Mm-hmm. Like you said, the circle takes would only be the only ones they print. So the other ones, I remember as an actor figuring that out, and then finally being comfortable enough to be like, hey, can we print that last one? I liked that last one. I think you're going to want that one,
Well, they used to famously, the director would go, cut, print. I don't think anybody else print anymore.
No.
Well, and that's back in the day, right? Because it was so expensive to develop and print the film. You know, so it was a cost cutting, and also too, they don't want to show the execs at the studio the bad stuff either. So that type of thing too when they're watching dailies.
Yeah.
But that's basically how you construct a scene. It's not, it's more feeling than scientific. That's for sure.
So did you see this episode recently by any chance?
I watched it yesterday.
Okay. So, the monster POV footage that Rob's talking about. Yeah. One of the things that we commented on that stood out to us was it wasn't just your standard issue. Brad's holding the camera, pushing through leaves. There was an effect on the shot. Now, was that you or is that?
I can't remember
in camera.
It sure feels like an Avid effect.
It feels like post to me. That's why I was wondering.
It feels like a Gaussian blur or something that we lay on there, or a motion blur. That's what it feels like to me. And like, if we could get away with doing Avid effects, like effects in the Avid, the editing system, we would do it to take stuff off the effects guys' plates. Because that way they don't have, because they have bigger fish to fry. Like in this episode where, Dick Roman's getting sprayed in the face and their face is melting, that type of stuff.
That's heavy duty effects.
This was a heavy effects episode.
Yeah. So if we can, do the simple stuff like that, just to give it some sort of, flair where it's not your standard, like you said, standard monster POV.
I thought it was cool because it was unique to that new monster we've seen. I don't think I've seen a POV.
It sure felt like an Avid thing, and it's better probably too. I'm sure they shot it clean, without the effect, so we have control of it later, and we can do whatever we want to do with it, after the fact and post.
Yeah, the only reason why I even thought it might be in camera was because Guy B directed it, and he has done a couple of things in episodes where he, being a camera operator himself, understands speed and shutter speed.
It could have been. I mean, he could have shot both, right? One clean and one with it, if it was practical. So, it's I've done so many episodes, and this is like the fourth one I cut. So it's like, man, it's like watching game film almost. I'm watching the cuts and stuff because I can't have to watch it technically. And it's like, ooh, why did I do that? Ooh.
Yeah, like what in this episode? What bumped for you?
Yeah, what bumped?
I don't know. I think it's just cut points. I think that there were a couple of where I cut on an eye blink or something like that. That drove me nuts. I don't think that anybody's going to really notice, type of thing. Right. But for me, it's like I should have backed it up one frame or slid the cut point one frame to get rid of that eye blink or type of stuff. Yeah. But, it's one of those things where, it's me, but it also goes through, Phil and Bob and, so if they're okay with it, by the time it reaches, the air, then it's okay. You know what I mean? Yeah. So but it's still stuff. It's like, you look back, you always second guess yourself. I'm sure you guys do that too.
Totally. Totally. Yeah, why did I do that? Why did they use that?
Why did they like it?
Why did they use that take? There's a lot of that sometimes.
Right. Yeah.
So there's also really well this TV show that we're talking about. You guys cut together great action scenes. Like you did that so well. In this, there's a couple good ones. There's a great moment where the guys are shooting down the infected guy out of the tree. Yeah. Bobby shoots it. That was really well cut together. Do you ever I know that sometimes you speed up, like if there's a punch, you'll speed up right? Is that you that's doing that on the Avid?
Yeah, it was one of those, like the ramps within a shot, where it's stylized and stuff like that. I know that basically was not our style. So we were kind of instructed not to do a ramp within a punch, but you can speed up the whole punch. You know what I mean? To make it look more violent. Right. When you're cutting action stuff, a lot of, the pieces all fit together. It's funny because you sit there and you're like, wow, it's, you don't have too many 2-minute long fights because it just doesn't kind of work that way. Right. But, it could be a minute long or something like that. But there's so many little pieces to get. The close-ups of the punches, this and that. It takes a long time to cut it. Even though it's a minute of screen time or whatever it's going to be, it's going to, take you hours and hours and hours to cut it. Yeah. I mean, that scene in that one, when they're shooting him, what I've noticed, it's funny too, because back then they used to use, actual, flash paper for the muzzle flash.
Oh, right.
Gun or blanks, depending on, you know what I mean? I mean, that looked like it was blanks to me. I mean, as far as I can tell, but now it's a lot of, they're digitally putting in the muzzle flashes.
Yeah.
And the stuff doesn't, for me, what I notice since I sit there and watch this stuff, 10 hours a day, is people don't react when the gun fires. People close their eyes, they, that type of stuff, because it's so loud. Now, when they do it digitally with a muzzle flash, nobody closes their eyes. There's no recoil. There's no any of that stuff. So it's, I like the realistic stuff. I like the, actually fire the gun, type of stuff.
Yeah.
And that one felt real violent and real, because you can see the flashes on their face, the light on their face and stuff like that while they're firing the guns.
Yeah.
So, just way more realism than just throwing in a digital effect.
That's really interesting. Yeah. It's funny. I was late to the game in terms of realizing that all the muzzle flashes you see nowadays are all fake. Like the John Wick movies. I'm like, wow, how'd they do that? And then someone was like, oh no, this is all put in post. I'm like, oh, right.
Yeah, put that sound and that flash in.
The flash and everything. Yeah. And even the bloods and the blood going out of a guy's head when he gets shot in the head. Like that's all.
Yeah. It's got to help production speed up. That's for sure. Because you're not resetting, you're not doing all that stuff. So I get it on that side for sure. But for me, like I do like the actual practical effect, because it just stands out.
Yeah. Do you remember if when the guy falls out of the tree, if that was that a stunt body?
I think it was probably a dummy in that sleeping bag.
Since we didn't really see it land, I was thinking it probably was.
Yeah, I just felt, I was watching
I don't know.
What I felt was funny was the guy hanging upside down in the sleeping bag,
dude,
because he's like, they got to reset him. It's like, okay, let's go again. And he's
what a nightmare assignment.
Dude, I couldn't have done it.
All the blood going to his head.
Yeah.
And all that kind of stuff. Oh, one thing also too, in that little, the opener, did you notice that Bob's voice was the guy?
Yes.
Oh, heck yeah.
Sounds, yeah. Right away. That was kind of funny. Yeah.
Yeah. Really great. And you realize too, he's got a great radio voice. He's got that.
Oh yeah. He does a lot of little cameo voiceover work. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Catch it here and there. Yeah.
He's a radio DJ in one of my episodes. I had him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
He's the man of multi-talents for sure.
Hey, Don, who cuts the recaps at the beginning of an episode?
That is the assistants do that. Okay. And that, which is cool because it's kind of their own little project. Usually either the writer or the head writer will say, hey, let's include this, in the recap type of thing. So it's the own little project of the assistant. And so they do it all, put it all together, and then they just run it. When you're done, like, let's say we do the producer's cut of the episode, then we say, okay, hold on. We got all the producers in the room. The assistant gets in the chair and then runs their recap.
Nerve-wracking.
Yeah, but it's a good way to work your way up in the chair, right? Because in talking about, like you said, how the other editors don't want to come on and talk, because it's an interesting dynamic, because most of the editors are kind of introverted. They want to sit in their room by themselves, build their stuff, hang out with their assistant, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But then you switch over, you got to work with the director, you got to work with the producers. So you got people sitting on the couch behind you while you're performing, fixing, doing their notes or whatever. So you have to kind of be also, diplomatic, either fight for a note, not fight for a note, not, that type of stuff. So there's a whole other side of the personable side of the job too. So it's a different thing, but it's for the assistants. So they get good experience.
And the thing I always think about too is how, when you're cutting that kind of thing, do you have like an easy to get to, easy to access file? Like even if you're putting together, like, I don't know, a bonus footage, like I want a bunch of shots of Dean reacting a certain way. Do you have it filed?
Yeah, I mean, we did have stock. So of course we had, stock of the Impala, tons of it, tons of drive-bys, tons of stuff like that. Every episode, we redigitized every final episode in our tower. So all our avids, the 3 avids that we had for the editors, were all linked to one. It was called the system's called an ISIS. So that was before the bad ISIS thing.
Right. Sure.
But it's basically it's a giant server full of all the episodes, dailies, everything. So cutting recaps, the assistants can access every episode up to that point.
Can you search by?
No, not really.
Okay.
You kind of
know.
The thing is with like if you're looking for reaction shots and stuff like that, it's hard to steal stuff of the guys or a character because they're in different wardrobe and stuff like that, So it's pretty much episode centric, type of thing with that.
Sure.
But other stock for sure, like, locations or the Impala or establishing shot or, I know this or, that type of stuff. Yeah, for sure.
Right. Yeah, I always think about that because it's even when I just see like, a greatest hits or a recap, that kind of thing, like, man, that took some work. That took some digging.
It does. Yeah, it takes a long time. But I mean, if, as the editors and assistants, we watch all the episodes, even that aren't ours, obviously. So we know what's happening in the storyline. But, so when we're not doing that. We're watching the other episodes that are in the season. So
now when you're doing work that is associated with visual effect, like you're cutting a scene that like the Leviathan's getting sprayed by the borax and all that stuff. Visual effects can't work on that till it's locked, right?
Right.
So do those scenes get prioritized in terms of editorial?
It depends how big. It depends how big they are. It depends how, if it's a monster kind of scene. There was those probably not. I mean, they had enough lead time, I think, and they're not too terribly difficult. Yeah, it is putting stuff on their faces and stuff like that. And as the seasons go along, the effect software gets better, so the more they can do, the faster they can do, by season 15 and compared to season 6 visual effects, you can kind of see a evolution of the effects too. But there are some that you're like, yeah, I got to cut this scene. Really, I got to cut it now, and then I got to get it to the director, make sure the director's okay with it, and then maybe get Phil on it. Or there was I can't remember what season it was. Maybe it was 14 or 13 where I did the finale. It was one where the darkness overtook the bar where death was, and it was a whole big black cloud coming over an entire field and stuff, and Phil shot that and drone footage and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that was like, we got to cut that first, we got to get this to visual effects, because there's going to be multiple runs at it, because they'll be like, I like that, or I don't like that, or yeah, for sure.
Right.
That's a challenge. So when you're doing that, are you in communication with visual effects? For example, are they saying, hey man, based on the schedule, don't send me more than 4 shots to work on? Like, is there a plan in place? Supernatural is unique because you guys had your own visual effects department,
right,
on the lot. So
right, usually they get the cuts and stuff, so they knew it was coming. They had an idea of what was coming, and I'm sure they discussed with the directors. They would give us notes and say, hey, use this shot, use this take of this setup, because we can use this better. Like, something doesn't cross in front of the camera or something, it's easier to track. Or, it was like, okay, use take 6 of this setup for this visual effect shot, that type of thing. So there's some coordination there, type of thing. Or you can send them a cut and they come back and say it's not working, or we need more. We need, 10 more frames on the tail, or something like that on this shot, so there's collaboration there for sure. And They go through multiple versions. So it's not, it takes, 3 or 4 versions to lock a visual effect usually. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of, and like you said, having our dedicated visual effects, it was a huge help.
Oh, you don't really realize that till you go to another show. Right. Like, you get 3 shots. I'm like, huh? Isn't the guy just going to mosey over to the set? No, that costs money.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, that was a huge bonus.
Dude, thank you so much for doing this. This is fascinating, and we've only scratched the surface of what you do and your impact on the show. But I will say this, Supernatural, yourself included, it's an incredibly well-cut show because this show is complex. It's got horror. It's got comedy. It's got heartfelt drama. It's got shtick. It's got all these things, and all of those are rhythmic, and all those rhythms have to be mastered by the editor. I bet it was the best film school of all time because you come out with all of those razors sharp. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Thank you for that. Yeah. That was the great thing about the show is it was the variety for sure. And like you said, you never know what you're going to get because you're just assigned a slot in the rotation, and then, you hope you get this or you hope you get that. But yeah, like in this episode, the comedy that Jensen does when he's, kind of high off the burger, stuff.
Great.
You got that. And
so good.
So, yeah. So it's, you get everything. So it's, you definitely.
Yeah. And there are elements of this episode that were kind of like, that Terminator 2 shot when he's walking and his face is repairing itself. And, full on action showdown escape at the end of the episode with the shooting.
Yeah, it was a great episode because it like Ben wrote it basically like you thought it was a monster of the week type of thing, but then it turned into the main storyline.
Yeah, man. And like I said, you guys, all of you, from everybody, pilot forward, it's just such good at your job, and it shows in each episode.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
And we're gonna have more conversations because we got to dive into how you save an episode that was poorly directed, and we'll wait for one of my episodes.
I was gonna say, it'll be nothing but positive statements.
Oh, sure, of course.
I love working with you. One of my favorite directors. Easy, the best time I
told you guys we needed to have Don on sooner.
What exactly? Man. We can go like what goes on in the editing room while the director and editor are in there.
Real quickly before we let you go, you have been working on a project with another Supernatural alum.
That's
a couple
correct.
of them. Matt Cohen's feature film directorial debut that stars Brianna Buckmaster and Matt Cohen. How has that been?
It's been awesome. Love it. Matt's an awesome guy. The whole thing's awesome. We're kind of in the mid. We're basically towards the tail end. It's cut. It's done. It's locked picture. Now we're just cutting in the visual effects. We're getting those in. And audio's done, it's mixed, all that kind of stuff. So it's close. You can see the finish line for sure, but it's really fun, like comedy, action, all that stuff. So it's great.
And you never worked with him on Supernatural, right? You didn't edit his, or did you?
I actually cut Matt's episode.
Oh, okay. You did.
Episode.
Okay.
Yeah. So he was great, and kind of, I kept on him just saying, hey, you got anything else? Let me know. And he called me up and I said, yeah, let's do it. So
that's awesome. Well, it's a re-team up then. That's great.
You got it. Yeah.
Well, super cool. I can't wait to see your work on that as well. That's X's, by the way, for anybody keeping track. That's the movie called X's. Anyway, Don thank you so much, man.
Thank you so much, man. It was great. It was fun.
Really good to talk to you. We'll have you back.
Yeah, we'll let you know when this is out so you can give it a listen.
All right. Perfect. Talk to you guys later.
Hey, this is Jeffrey Dean Morgan. We are going to take a quick break.
You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Progressive loves to help people make smart choices. That's why they offer a tool called Auto Quote Explorer that allows you to compare your Progressive car insurance quote with rates from other companies. So you save time on the research and can enjoy savings when you choose the best rate for you. Give it a try after this episode at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy. If you've ever shopped online, and let's face it, who hasn't? Chances are you've bought something from a business powered by Shopify. You know that purple Shop Pay button you see at checkout? The one that makes buying so incredibly easy? That's Shopify. And there's a reason so many businesses sell with it, because Shopify makes things easier, and not just for shoppers. They make it easy to start and run your business. Shopify is the commerce platform behind 10% of all e-commerce in the US. from household names like Mattel and Gymshark to brands just getting started. It gives you a leg up from day dot with hundreds of beautiful ready-to-go templates to express your brand style so you can get up and running fast. You can tackle your important tasks, from inventory to payments to analytics and more, all in one place. You can also spread your brand's word with built-in marketing and email tools built for you to find and keep new customers. And remember that iconic purple Shop Pay button that's used by millions of businesses around the world? It's why Shopify has the best converting checkout on the planet. Your customers already know and love it. If you want to see less carts being abandoned, it's time for you to head over to Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/realm. Go to shopify.com/realm. Shopify.com/realm.
Hey, it's Jeffrey Dean Morgan again. Welcome back to the podcast.
Well, that was great. It was great to talk to Don, to have an editor on, finally.
Finally. And by the way, he did not disappoint.
No, he didn't.
Came loaded for bear, had watched the episode, knew what was going on, had stories to share. What a long and storied career in Hollywood, and kind of like from the old school days.
A Hollywood family. Family. It was really fun. And
that's awesome.
Petticoat Junction. I always like when Petticoat Junction gets a mention.
It doesn't get mentioned enough.
No, it doesn't.
For sure.
All right. Well, let's log in. Let's log into our next.
Emotionally. Let's log in emotionally to the next segment, Robert. No problem. Let me just tee up the old theme song here. Put the old needle on the vinyl. And here we go with mythology.
All right, food additives. Let's talk about food additives.
Let's do.
The main categories of food additives include emulsifiers, stabilizers, thickeners, preservatives, and sweeteners. There is significant concern over potentially harmful artificial and man-made additives. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration, or FDA, is responsible for testing and approving substances before they are added to foods. However, many additives deemed generally recognized as safe, or GRAS, GRAS, can still have harmful effects.
Yeah, the acronym is GRAS. That's funny.
Yeah.
Well said, Robert. Across the board, I agree with everything.
Okay, good.
Now, for a moment, the team believes they are chasing the Jersey Devil.
Right.
If I may remind you. Well, the Jersey Devil is a legendary creature deeply rooted in American folklore, especially in the Pine Barrens of southern New Jersey. The story combines colonial history and early American folklore.
Okay.
Tune up the banjo because here I go. The most popular legend about the origins of the Jersey Devil dates back to the 1700s.
Wow.
The story goes that a woman named Mother, which seems weird, was really weird when she was a schoolgirl. But whatever. Her name was Mother.
Mother Leeds.
Oh, Mother Leeds. I was reading that as a verb. Yeah, her name was Mother Leeds. Mother Leeds had 12 children, which is, if you translate that to modern era, a shitload. When she had her 13th, her husband said, "Too much. Get a new hobby."
He said, "Let's name it a baker's dozen."
Exactly. When she had 13, she cursed it and said, "Let this one be a devil."
Oh.
Well, it's like 10, 11, and 12 are so great.
That's not a very motherly thing to say.
No, that's not very maternal. Should call her not nice Leeds. The child was born normal. Good. Okay. Phew. Well, crisis averted. Hold on. There's more typing here.
Oh.
But eventually evolved into a monster.
What?
With a goat head and cloven hooves and bat-like wings.
Wow. So this is a real warning against anyone who wants more than 12 children.
Yeah. And also, if you curse your baby, you might actually curse your baby.
Yeah. Jeez. Well, the Leeds family were actual historical figures. The father.
Oh, I see. See, their Leeds is spelled like the name probably is, which is why I was confused by Leads.
Sure,
just saying.
Sure. Yeah. Now it's miraculously changed spellings. And the father, Daniel Leeds, sold astrological almanacs, which didn't really gain him favor with the mostly Quaker and Puritan communities at that time. His son continued the family pagan publishing business and was even mocked by publishing rival Benjamin Franklin. Heard of him?
Nope.
In Poor Richard's Almanac. Oh, Rich. Poor
I know.
Rich.
Well, all I could do was just make this almanac.
Oh.
What's crazy to me, so the Leeds family are real people, we're saying. And Daniel's a real person who did the almanacs. And people didn't like that. But no mention of his crazy-ass wife who cursed the baby.
No,
why is he getting skewered?
Or the cloven-hooved, bat-winged, goat-headed baby. I mean, no one ever...
Did they give him a name? What was the cloven-hooved, Larry?
Larry.
Well, his name was Lawrence, but they called him Larry.
Maybe this is where your confusion is. Before 1900, the Jersey Devil was referred to as the Leeds Devil.
Oh, yeah, that narrows it down. Anybody? In 1909, there was mass hysteria, and hundreds of people across Delaware, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania claimed to have seen the creature. Angry mobs even formed to try to hunt it down.
You know that they did, too, because they were real dumb in 1909.
Yeah, not smart like we are now.
Right. And now, fun facts. Fun facts. The title refers to Dale Carnegie's self-help book, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
That's a famous book, Robert.
That's right.
I wonder if Dale Carnegie also had a book called How to Be Richer Than Everybody You Know, ergo, they will be your friends and they will wield to your influence.
He did, but it didn't sell as many copies.
You would think that Dale would forget that little tidbit. It's a little bit like How to Be a Millionaire and Never Pay Taxes. Step 1, get $1 million. Now, it's
right. Totally.
Dale's already got he's on Easy Street, but whatever.
Yeah.
The German title is Du bist, was du isst, which loosely translates into you are what you eat.
Oh, sounds like in Germany they're really stuck on that the bibbing.
Yeah, that was their favorite part, clearly.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Did anybody know if there was a title in Japan that was different?
It is different. It doesn't seem to be food related. It says here, and this is a loose translation, it's the happy fun boat that kills you.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And
you think that at least it could have been the happy fun boat that eats you, but
yeah,
but
exactly.
It's not.
No, it's just not. We're just giving you the facts. This next fact isn't fun because we've said it at least 3 times already.
To death.
Bob Singer did the voiceover on the Nature Sounds, the Sound of Nature recording at the beginning of the
Nature Sounds, Bob Singer. The turducken slammer sandwich Jensen was eating were made with real animals. Real animals were killed on the set of Supernatural and turned into sandwiches. Yeah.
Retroactively canceled. No, it says veggie patties. Veggie patties. So there you go. Although Jensen, in person, or maybe he said this on our podcast, but he was saying how the eating was not his favorite part. He really grew tired of that because they have him eating all the time.
I'm sure you had to be disciplined with that regard. You know what I mean?
You know, it can get old to do take after take after take of eating like that. Well, a couple of the fictitious articles featured in the episode are credited to Supernatural cast members. One of the articles about the Jersey Devil that Sam shows Bobby is penned by Dr. Kara Schwant, PhD. Kara Schwant was the set decoration office coordinator. The article, Camping High Season Harshed by Human Burrito, bears the name Carolina Safar. Carolina? Safar worked in the props department.
I believe it was Carolina. And everybody called her Kay.
That's funny, though. I do love it when they do stuff like that.
Me too.
Every time there's a name of a fictitious anything that they're going into, I feel like it's someone from the...
It's somebody, yeah. The bakery used to make the wagon wheel ciabatta buns is owned by the daughter of Supernatural Electric's Michael and Monica Mayo. She also made the wedding cake for season 7, Time for a Wedding. And I'll make the same joke I made then, which is every now and then when there was something falling from the sky on the set and everybody needed to be careful. People would grab her and move her out of the way. It was called Holding the Mayo.
Hold the mayo. Hold the mayo. That's right. It's a long setup for the joke that we all.
I didn't even. That setup was terrible too. Like I did not know. I didn't
Sometimes. Well, let me start at the beginning. When film is made,
when talkies were introduced. But Mike Mayo, I knew both the Mayos. They were awesome. Mike Mayo was so great. I remember he came to a meeting one time. He's a huge guy. And he came to a meeting. I was trying to figure out some light things. So he came to the meeting. And it was probably dumb questions I was asking because, most of my questions are sometimes when I'm trying to figure something out. And afterwards I go, Mike, thanks so much for coming, man. You ate into your own lunch. I appreciate it. Thank you for being here. And he goes, hey, man, I get paid every 6 minutes. And I thought that was really funny because that's the union time increment in which they are paid every 6 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Meaning like he comes up to talk to me, he just made 6 minutes more money.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. And it was great. I thought it was really, it did eat into his break time that I thought was really cool, helpful. And then he was also really, really nice to me when I was directing my first episode.
Huh.
Like went out of his way to be supportive and nice. So the Mayos are good people.
Turns out don't hold the mayo.
Let go of the Mayo. Release the Mayo.
Release the mayo. Well, Richard, what a fine episode of fine podcasting. Great interview.
You got Bob Singer doing the voiceover and Bob Seger representing one of the beard ratings. The coincidences are through the roof. I tell you the story that I was on a plane and Bob Singer was going to be playing with us at a convention in New Jersey, playing with Loud and Swain at a Saturday night special.
Yes.
But I was playing bass for it, so Mike Borja could play keyboards.
Yes.
And one of you guys was on the plane, and I was talking to you about playing for Bob Singer.
Uh-huh.
And I go back to the restroom, and the guy behind me goes, excuse me, did you say you're playing for Bob Singer? I go, yes. He goes like, oh, my God, I love him so much. Where are you guys playing? I'm like, we're the Ramada, whatever. He's like, yeah, dude, I saw him play, Tiger Stadium in 78. And I'm like, what? And in my mind, I'm like, did Bob Singer have like a whole side thing? And then I realized mid-conversation, he thought I said Bob Seger.
That's right.
And he thought I was a member of the Silver Bullet Band. And I did not deny it. We left that conversation with that man thinking I was playing a stadium. And I did nothing to discourage that thought.
That's funny. Yeah, I've had people on planes. That in itself is a classic story. But I've had people on planes see us, recognize that we're musicians, and then ask, where we're playing. And I'm like, the Marriott?
I know. It always kind of takes the wind out of the sails a little bit.
Yeah. But hey, we rock that Marriott. And by the way, come see us at your local Marriott.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, thanks. Good job, Richard. Well done, as always.
Good job, Robert. Finally got us an editor, Don Koch.
Right. That's right. And thank you, Don Koch. We'll see you at the next one.
Yep.
This episode of Supernatural features Jared Padalecki as Sam Winchester and Jensen Ackles as Dean Winchester.
Guest stars include Jim Beaver, James Patrick Stewart, Benito Martinez, Cameron Bancroft, and Sean Rogerson.
How to Win Friends and Influence Monsters was written by Ben Edlund, directed by Guy Norman B.
Editing by Don Koch. Music by Jake Gruska.
Second assistant director was Deborah Hurst.
Executive produced by voiceover star Robert Singer and Sarah Gamble.
Supernatural was created by Eric Kripke.
This episode originally aired on November 18th, 2011.
This episode of Supernatural Then and Now was hosted and executive produced by Richard Spade Jr. and Rob Benedict.
Produced by Stephen Hine, written by Stephen Hine and Haida Holscher.
And edited and associate produced by Trey Booty.
What is a booty?
Music provided by Tim Wynn.
The episode was recorded with the help of Sonic Fuel Studios.
This podcast is from Story Mill Media.
Follow the podcast on Instagram and YouTube at SPN Then and Now.
And become a member of the podcast to get early access, chat rooms with other fans, and video interviews at patreon.com/SPN Then and Now. Don Koch, thank you for joining us on the podcast. You're the first editor from Supernatural.
Let's start that over so we have a clean opening here.
There's a little bit of room there, but yeah, let's go for it.
Well, you don't have to cut it, Don. We'll do.
Let me just say, starting off, it's really going to be like working with a director and an editor.
It's your definition of hell.
I've already
Go back.
I've already got to stop.
Go back.
I'm already having to go back and redo it because it wasn't smooth enough. Okay. A strangely deceased man falls from the trees.
Is it deceased or diseased? It's supposed to be diseased. Which one is it supposed to be?
He's both.
Yeah, because he's all like purple and stuff.
And he's dead. So he's a deceased man.
Yes, sure.
He's emancipated, has blue skin, and grayed out eyes.
He's emancipated. I mean, he's been freed? What? What? That's not even a Steve typo. Rob just read that wrong.
That's a verbal. That's on Rob. That's me.
He's been freed from his enslavement.
And I guess the point was there was nothing about the purple goo, but that could happen.
Yes, I guess in theory, watch what you eat. If you have an angry waiter, maybe either switch tables or move restaurants.
Switch tables.
That's a lesson in life, just irrespective of this episode of TV. By the way.
Yeah.
If your server hates you, run.
That with this new operating system, we can actually hear you say that.
Yeah, you know, play the harmonica. No, actually, like don't you have one right there? Because it always blocks it out. Get your harmonica out. Let's try the lick and stick and see if it works. Oh man, we're in a new world order. I can now hear the things that usually it mutes it automatically somehow.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
anyway,
that's exciting. Yeah, I'm excited too.
Wow. Thanks, everybody.
Well,
thank you.
This is.
Thank you so much. Oh, wow.
Do you have the crickets sound effect ready? Because I'm sure a lot of our commentary will deserve that.
Story Mill Media.
Hey folks, we're the hosts of Comic Sans, the podcast about comics for those who are sans knowledge. I'm Yen, a reader, writer, liver, and breather of comic books.
And I'm Nat. I used to know absolutely nothing about comics, but now...
So actually, I've got a quiz for you.
I still have a lot to learn about comics.
Thank you. On Comic Sans, I make Nat read some of my favorite works in the medium, including Saga, Daredevil, and the Flintstones.
And Yen talks about what makes that comic special. Sometimes it's a story, sometimes it's...
Paneling, gutters, page turns, colorings, lettering, semiotics, juxtaposition.
Okay, Professor, save it for the episodes.
You can listen to Comic Sans on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
You can binge our first 2 seasons. That's over 20 episodes on 20 different comics.
And we just launched Season 3, new episodes every 2 weeks.
Legendary stories, awe-inspiring sound, and endless adventure. Welcome to the realms of peril and glory. Explore the mechanically magical vistas of Vale, the paranormal mysteries of liminal London, and the cyberpunk chaos of Cyborg. With breathtaking sound design and enchanting original music, you'll be immersed into unforgettable campaigns and heart-pounding one-shots. Ignite your imagination and discover the realms of peril and glory today. Go to realmspod.com or search Realms of Peril and Glory wherever you listen to podcasts.